Jeff, just looking at this UAB offense, like, what do they do so well to get those yards?
They do a really good job of scheming. They've
Yeah.
got great players, and they do a good job getting them the ball in space. They're dynamic. Quarterback's really good, really well coached, and a bunch of good players. So we'll have our hands full for sure.
It's kind of unique that a first-year staff has been able to be so productive like that, right?
Yeah, but it helps when your tailback's returning, your quarterback's returning, one of your best receivers is returning. They've got a lot of tradition there. They've been playing good football for a long time, so it's not like it's a total rebuild.
Yeah.
Now, but yes, what Coach Dilfer's done there, and Coach Mortensen is really remarkable. They hit on a really good football player, the receiver, the freshman. They did really good in getting him. Their tight ends are big, physical, and fast. Those guys have hurt us before. We've had trouble stopping them, for years.
What stands out about Jacob Zeno in particular? He's a local guy, kind of of interest to our audience here.
Good athlete, good arm, very composed. Really impressed with him. I was last year too. Always have been. When I went to Baylor, I knew he was a really good quarterback. Obviously, San Antonio kid, so we've known him for a long time around here, and I'm sure he's excited to come home and play. And he'll play lights out. He's really good.
What is it about? It seems every time UTSA and UAB play, the game comes down to the wire and it's close contested.
Yeah, I would say just UAB was kind of the bar we were all setting ourselves for. When we got the job, that's the team we studied the most. We knew that's what we were going to have to beat. It's not like what I said all those years ago was something I thought of, but to be the champions, you got to beat the champs, and they were the champs. And I said that in the most flattering way to let them know how much respect we had for them, how hard they play, and how tough they are. And they're still that team. And I know they're on the third coach since then. Obviously, Coach Vincent did that last year, and now we're on with Coach Dilford. So, but still, what Bill did all those years ago to get that thing going, I believe that the guy they hired now, Coach Dilford, will take this thing to a whole nother level. So it's a good program, very well coached. They've done a good job.
We've talked about the offensive line shuffle for you guys. What was Bentley's reaction when you approached him about moving back to tackler? How did that play out?
He's excited to do whatever. He's just a good football player. And, we just felt like it needed to be done. And Bentley was excited about it. Obviously, Corey was, so they put him in the starting lineup. So
I know it was pretty new for Bentley last year to be at tackle. You see ways now that he's kind of farther along, or how he's developed. What's the difference?
Yeah, it's he's done it. So biggest difference, you're out there by yourself. When you're a guard, you got help on both sides. So, but he's very poised out there.
Do you still see him as a guard long term, or do you think he could find a fit at tackle indefinitely?
It's always about the best five. It's really not about that. It's just how can we get our most efficient best five on the field, and right now we feel like that's where we are.
Jeff, this matchup with your defense, is this one of those games where your home field advantage really comes into play?
We're going to need it. There's no doubt we're going to need it. There's something about the Alamo Dome and our fan base that just gets our kids going on defense. And almost got to calm our offense down. But our defense really feeds off that.
For Devin McEwen to come in here and being productive as he has, what was it like for him building a connection with Frank when Frank kind of wasn't doing a lot of stuff in the offseason or in the spring?
Yeah, but Frank's always watching. Frank's an old soul too. I mean, Frank's probably been drinking coffee and getting up at 5:30 in the morning for 20 years. I've never seen Frank late anywhere, ever. If Frank's not the first one there, I'm worried about him. And Devin's a lot like that. So Frank spotted that at a very young age. And he always was watching him and coming and talking to me about him. And David Amador's the same way. I hate that y'all haven't got to see him. He's going to have a bust-out game, too, and you're going to all be talking about David, too. It just hasn't happened yet. But both those young receivers are like that. They're both old souls, so.
You obviously have some ties to Jacksonville. What was your connection like with McEwen and his family, early in this recruiting process?
I've just known him forever. I was just a kid back then. In 1993, I was probably 24 years old, 25, something like that, maybe, if I was even that old. So that's, you know how that is when you're that age. I'm just trying to figure out my own life. Probably a big kid myself, and played a lot of hoops back in the day, so I was always in the gym. His dad was a really good player in Summerfield. So I just have known their family or members of their family or friends literally forever. And Jacksonville, in my particular time in my life, those 6 years that I was there were probably the most formative years of my adult life. So there are so many people there to this day that had an unbelievable influence on just Carrie and I. We had just had Jordan, we then had Jake, then we had JC. So you know how that is when you're trying to raise children at a very young age. I'm teaching and coaching, and Carrie's teaching. That's a wonderful community. So the McCallans were there, and we have Owen and Chris Carpenter's family's there. And, now we have Devin, and there's a whole bunch of more Indians and East Texas kids we're still shooting for.
Were those connections and roots essential in his recruiting process? How did that sort of impact him in his decision making?
Yeah, his family always told me he was going to come play for me. One of my former players that coached for me, Randall Kennedy, was very close with Devin, and all those Jacksonville people. And we always felt like, now we beat out some really good schools because of our relationship. We were very fortunate to get him. He's high IQ, 4.0 student. He hasn't been here very long, so that's pretty easy when you first start. So it's not like he's a 4-year 4.0 student, but I know he had 4.0 this summer, and I know he's off to a really good start in the fall.
Is the production he's had surprising as a young guy?
No, he's different. So very fast, very mature. Just an old soul that's a really good athlete. Y'all are going to enjoy watching him the next few years.
All right, Jeff.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.